Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. So, wow, have I made quite the discovery. You can actually, and some of you may know this, but you can actually get paid daily dividends if you own the right funds. So I'm going to show you all the calendar feature that I have loaded here, and I'm going to show different settings to show various funds and stocks actually that pay daily. Now, you can become a conservative dividend investor focusing on more stable dividends, or I guess you can be a high yield warrior and chase the 90% yields with almost total NAV erosion, whatever floats your boat. But there's multiple approaches to being a dividend investor. You can either have the conservative approach where you preserve your NAV and get a decent dividend, or you can have the super high dividend yields at the expense of NAV. So I want to go over the settings here. This is Snowball Analytics. This is a calendar feature that I'm really excited about. So looking at the conservative approach, just on dividend paying stocks, check this out. There's one for almost every day of the month, starting on New Year's Day, literally on a holiday, getting paid a dividend on a holiday. How cool is that? So this one for ADP stock was $1.70. For Nike on January 2nd was 41 cents. So if you basically owned all of these, like a share of all of these, you could get paid on these days. So there were two of them on January 2nd, and then Kimberly Clark on the 5th. On the 6th, we had Pepsi. On the 8th, we had four. We had Merck, VICI, that's a popular one for dividend stock lovers, Schlumberger, and MPW, another popular one, on the same day. And then on the 9th, we had actually four of them. Wow. So not only could you get paid once in a day, but you could get paid 2, 3, and up to 4 times. Amazing, right? So that's four of them: ITW, Altria, Franklin Resources, and Dynex Capital. These are all pretty good companies, I would say. And then we miss a couple days. Then we have the 12th, AGNC. Then, of course, Philip Morris, one of our favorites, on the 14th. And then we get a bonus, Mondelez International, on the 14th. On the 15th, we have, how about this one? Wow. Look how many pay, because that's like bi-monthly, right? Or that's the mid-month. How about this? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16 companies paying on the 15th. How awesome is that? How about this? Wow, we got all of you on. We got the band back together here. We got Chuck commenting first, says hello. Happy Monday from Pirate Justin. Bond says, hey. Retire on Dividend says, no snow for Coach. You know, it's funny. We're like that one little piece at the bottom of the USA that has no snow. We had 83-degree beach weather yesterday. Pretty amazing. Literally, I go to watch the games. Everybody's in flip-flops and like beach attire when the rest of the country is getting snow. Pretty amazing, right? Let's see. GDXY and SLJY have been insane, not behaving like covered call ETFs. We'll have to add those to the list. In fact, I'm going to make a note because, learning and coaching is a two-way street. Sometimes I teach you all stuff, but a lot of times you all teach me stuff. So I look at it as a two-way street. So let me add these. There are so many funds, it's almost impossible to keep track of, but we've got, let's see, he told me GDXY, which I do know about, and gold and silver, because the underlyings, right? So interestingly enough, to segue back into weather forecasting, which oddly enough, when I was like 10 or 11, I wanted to be a meteorologist. But instead of choosing to be meteors, I chose to study dividend yields and financial returns, right? So similar science, different entity though, right? But anyway, we are actually going to get down in the 30s tonight, so we're gonna join up with the rest of the country in terms of cold weather. Hopefully no snow though, unless it gets below freezing. Then there's always a chance. If it rains and it's below freezing, there's always a chance of snow. Anyway, so smart guy here says I ditched all YieldMax ETFs, 85% return of capital. Some of them are a lot higher. The only good one, so I'll give a shout out to Brad, Income Architect. I actually watched one of his videos. Often I don't get to watch videos from my peers that often, but I watched one with him and Spencer, and he made a good point. When we were all at the YieldMax closing bell, which Rod was there too, of course, 2 years in a row, by the way, both of us, right? But the guy that actually rang the bell, I guess Brad asked him what YieldMax funds he owned, and the only one was the semiconductor one, so the SOXY. So That and Chippy are probably the two. If you want yield max, those are the two. I am looking at Chippy, but again, those are because of the underlyings. But let's not get too distracted here. We're focused on dividend stocks here. He says, there go the oranges. So much for orange, sweaty pumpkin attire, right? Let's see. Oh, Mr. Cardona's on. TRIN, a BDC, pays 17 cents at the end of each month. I'm kind of burned out of BDCs, to be honest. They pay December. All right, let's get back to our regularly scheduled programming here. So we were last ruminating on the fact that, let me get rid of this here. We were last enthralled with the fact that there's like so many companies paying on the 15th. So on the 15th, check this out. Oh, here's one I haven't heard of in a while. I haven't actually heard of this one from my financial advisory days. WP Carey. I used to be a financial assistant, basically, so I know the whole ins and outs of the industry, in case anyone wondered. And Disney, of course, Ecolab. Let me make sure here that we're. Do I have any opinions on GIAX? Yes. Well, it's not an opinion; it's a fact. GIAX happens to be a tradable fund. There you go. Was that the answer you were looking for? I doubt it. All right, smash that like button. In fact, if you smash that like button, I'll give you a better answer. How about that? It's like a bartering system here. Anyway, so let's see here. So we've got Innovative Industrial Properties, WP Carey, Walt Disney, Ecolab, Alexandria Real Estate Equities, not to be mistaken with presumably AOC. Had to throw that in there. Trinity Capital, Starwood Property, Blue Owl Capital, EPR, Realty Income, that's a good one. Agree Realty, but there's no Disagree Realty. Main Street, and these are all, reasonable. Look at this. There's up to 10% yields here. Some of these are 2 or 3%. We even have one that's 20% here. Horizon Technology, Stag, Occidental Petroleum. That's a good one. Apple Hospitality REIT. And then we took a 6-day break. Then we had Cisco. That's one of my former favorite companies I used to be invested in. Prospect Capital, Blackstone, another. Oh, that's not the same one I'm thinking of. That's BXSL. Cisco, Oracle, which I think is going to recover. Armor, Orchid Island, Annaly Capital Management, Dell, Capital Southwest, LTC, Trinity, Gladstone, Effington Financial Inc. I hope Effington doesn't F up their dividend. Gladstone Commercial and Gladstone Investment. And then how about this one? JP Morgan Chase, former employer. And then for February, we've got a bunch of them on the 2nd. We've got some on the 4th. We've got some on the 6th. Ironically, they skipped a very, very important day, February 7th. Some of you all know why that's important. The 9th, the 10th, there's the Blackstone Group. So you all can see here, these are stable, like almost daily paying dividend stocks, but I'm sure that doesn't excite a lot of you. But what really will excite you is, of course, the funds that we cover, those high yield funds, right? So I showed you in the first part of this video here, stable dividend yields from stable dividend stocks, which are actual dividends, by the way, not synthetic covered calls. Now in the second part, I could actually split this into 2 videos, but I'll go ahead and just do the second part here. So the second part, and I love this feature, Snowball Analytics. I have a promotional code in the video description. I highly recommend you all check that out. Sign up through my affiliate link. I'm a big fan. So we want to look at dividend funds now. So now we're going to have the usual suspects here. Of course, we've got Roundhills, XDTE, QDTE. You're going to see a lot of weekly ones, of course. YBTC. How about this PIMCO? PIMCO is 14.5%. I don't hear anyone talk about this, but it's 14.5%. But let's look at, we could actually sort by yield if we wanted to. Watch this here. Oh, there's FISROX. There's one I used to be in. Our highest yield is TSYY. I told you all, right? Yield Boost is like Yield Max on steroids. And then we've got Defiance, MST. These are weekly. YEF, not to be confused with Hoth or Yeti. SMCY. Oh, God. Not another SMCI fund. That's just what we need. By the way, SMCI stock is down yet again today. Come on, folks. Smash that like button. 2 thumbs way, way up, and I'll show you the more high yield stuff. PDI is a dandy, he says, as opposed to a doozy, presumably. Okay, so let's see. Oh, MSTR is still paying 75%. Roundhill, Palantir is still at 74, 72 for Beto. So you all can see here, those are yields that can be had. The TSYY I think is utterly ridiculous, but I'm just showing you all how you can filter by yield. So let's go by calendar again. So January 2nd, we have a bunch of them. XDT, QDT, YBTC, PIMCO, Defiance, Roundhill. How about this one? Liberty All-Star 11%. Clause 7.56%. QQQY. I got out of these too. That's 30%. Another PIMCO, Corporate and Income, 10.89%. Defiance, Russell 2000, 30%. Defiance Leveraged MSTR. Oh, I would avoid that. Not to steer you all one way or another, but MSTR has struggled significantly in the last 6 to 7 months. PIMCO, again, here's another PIMCO. I may, well, I don't want to broadcast my next moves, but I'm liking what I see with PIMCO. I'll just leave it at that. Here's Yield Max, the YMAX fund, 43%. And these were all on January 2nd. Then we took a little bit of a break, and then we got JEPQ, Coney, which I got out of. We've got JEPI, Fiat, the Yield Max Fiat one, 49%. Misty, AMDY, PP, one of my favorites, OARK, AIYY, GDXY, IDVDY. Wow, there's a ton of them. If you all are into the high yield space, there are a ton of these on here. GIAX, wasn't someone in the comments talking about that one? So basically, these are all the usual suspects here. January 7th. Let me do this to kind of speed things up here, because a lot of these are weekly payers, so you're going to see these on here multiple times. But basically, so far in the 31 days of January, we're getting paid in the high yield space January 2nd. So we only missed New Year's Day. The 3rd and the 4th we missed. So we've got the 5th, and I'm counting on my fingers because that's still how I count a lot of times, on my fingers, actually. So 1st, let's see, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and then the 6th, the 7th, the 8th, the 9th. Okay, 10th and 11th we missed, so that's 5 days. The 12th, we got a bunch of them, 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th. That was last week. And then, let's see, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, so that's 3 days. 20th, 21st, 22nd, 23rd. And then we had the weekend, right? We don't get paid on the weekends unless we do sports gambling. Although some of them, let's see, 24th we had, and then 26th. So we missed the 25th. I guess we did get paid on a weekend. I guess that's to make up for MLK Day. All right, so we missed the 25th. 26th is today, 27th, 28th, 29th, 30th, and the, let's see, drum roll, we had a bunch of them on the 30th. We'll go over these in more detail in another video. And the 31st. So how about this, folks? In a 31-day month, we only missed 9 days ETFs. In the stock ETFs, we missed far fewer. Let me read some comments here. Let's see here. The top fans get the crown. So, of course, Pirate Justin has the crown. Bond has the crown. Chris Cardona has the crown. TSYY, you're buying TSYY? Well, you're a brave man. On Friday, X date. PIMCO's Drips, 5% discount. Hey, look who we got. Andre Brown, a.k.a. New World Order. One of my favorite names. I have also suggested the same to Tap Alpha and Neos, right? I actually just talked to a rep with Curve and suggested they come out with a semiconductor fund. Why don't we do this? Why don't we get them back on and you can ask them on here? Because I'm worried that YieldMax is going to screw Chippy up. Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, they're boxed in by that prospectus. You know, it's just like when you go to a restaurant and the waitress says, we're boxed in by the system. YieldMax is boxed in by that prospectus. There's nothing they can do about it. The system, aka the prospectus, is God, after all. Chippy is my best performing holding. Do you have any opinions? Oh, we answered that already. Okay, you were number 4. So that means I actually owe you a more detailed opinion on GIAX. Well, I just showed you in the dividend chart, actually, right? So other than gold and silver assets, no to Horizon. Interesting. See, what's funny, a lot of you all know about these other ones, but you all want like the same ones covered all the time. But you all are stalling out on me because you all know about some of these other, like someone on here knew about Horizon, which has 20%. So we ought to really diversify, no pun intended, and cover some other things. But anyway, I only want to go for about 15 minutes today, so that's going to pretty much do it. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I will come back because I saw a lot of other funds on this list that I want to do more analysis on. So we're going to cover a lot of these. But before we end it, we got to read one more comment from Mr. Cardona here. He says, yes, I buy TSYY tomorrow. You're a brave man. That's all I can say. Ulti has been becoming more investable as, oh, not Ulti again, as NAV is staying pretty steady. Rod in all caps says, we want options coverage. I agree. I love covering it. You know how I feel about that. Distro Generate says, I just got into TSYX, so loving that. Well, good for you. Anyway, folks, that's going to do it. Please smash that like button, everyone. 2 thumbs way up. And yeah, we should do an options for dummies content because I'm the dummy and you all are the smart ones. So you all come on here to, it's funny. A lot of what I learned from my audience, actually, which is funny. Put it into practice, right? I have the practical knowledge from school, and then I actually do the real stuff on here. Anyway, folks, thank you all so much for tuning in. And that was great. We got really good participation. We will see you all very soon. And take care. Yeah, silver and gold are awesome. All right, checking out. See ya. Ciao. Bye.